I'm Joel Kovitz. 3217-0904 was my Army serial number. I got in 1941 before Pearl Harbor. I got in because I learned what was going on in Germany, and I was scared and I was angry, and I had lost 6 of my 8 friends that had gone to fight for the Spanish Republican government, the elected Spanish Republican government. Only 2 of them came back, and they had learned what was going on in Germany from the kids who had escaped from Germany and formed the Ernst Thälmann Battalion of the International Brigade. I felt that as a young Jewish man, I didn't have much of a future if I was going to have to live in a fascist-dominated society. Then when my Zionist uncle told my father that when the Nazis jumped into Russia from Poland, I learned that we had lost 34 of our family because they had taken all the young people and all the Jews out into the woods and shot them.
Do you remember what, this was in Poland or in Russia?
This was in Russia. In 1936, Stalin sent all the Jews out of Mother Russia, and they had to double up with the mishpucha on the Polish-Russian border. And I don't know whether I was more frightened or more angry, but I come from a politically active family, and I felt that I had to save my own ass. It was as simple as that. And which meant I had to learn how to kill fascists, and you can't go back to high school to learn that, so I joined the Army. You didn't have much choice. If you weren't an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter and would be immediately shoved into the engineers, you wound up in the infantry. Since I was a city kid, there's no way I could qualify for the cavalry, which at that time was in the Army. The Army had cavalry.
Now, are we talking mechanized cavalry? Or
no, it was horses.
Real horse cavalry.
Real horse cavalry.
But yet, later on, when we get to that, you had a little bit of a stint with some horses.
A lot of the draftees that came in, especially from the inner cities, were somewhat illiterate. And this was something that bothered me a little bit. But I found that it was to my advantage because I could read and write. I had a lot of schools I could apply to. But because I was scheduled for the infantry, and I could read and write and do a certain amount of math, they assigned me to a heavy weapons school. And I became a water-cooled 30 caliber machine gun specialist, which meant that I was going to be a machine gunner. I didn't know anything about the military, so wherever they sent me, I did. And I did the best I could, and I qualified. And they decided they would send me to submachine gun school. And at that time, the Army didn't have many submachine guns.
That would be the Thompson, yes?
The Thompson submachine gun. They got a big batch of civilian submachine guns with 52-round drums. I was quite content. They were going to send me to some other kind of a school. I think it was going to be a air-cooled machine gun school, because they weren't really set up. You know, we were not at war, and a lot of the equipment that was being manufactured was going to England. And this was, 1941. And I wound up doing a lot of calisthenics. And at a point, they wanted me to disassemble and assemble the Thompson blindfolded, which I couldn't do. But that was all right, because the week after, Pearl Harbor happened. Right away, everybody in all the schools had a choice of either going to Aruba or volunteering for a combat team.
What was going on in Aruba?
In Aruba, they'd worked some sort of a deal with the British, and it was going to be a base for ships cargo ships going to England. At that time, it was at Camp Wheeler, Georgia. We had barracks, and I was, fairly comfortable. The fact that we had barracks meant that we had showers, we had indoor latrines. I was very happy.
Here's a picture of you with the with the Thompson and the 30. Show it to the camera.
This was when I was on the combat team. They had a system of patrolling 14 miles of the Gulf Coast beach and protecting the only tin smelter we had in the United States, with a section of a National Guard outfit that was assigned to this combat team. When we got down there, we were issued World War I helmets and Springfield rifles, water-cooled 30s that we had to carry in a 3-man carry. This is the World War I water-cooled 30 that we were working with. Oh, this is what was when I was at machine gun school. It was called sighting. In World War I, the 30 caliber machine gun, water-cooled, was used to blanket an area with machine gun fire so that nobody could get through. And it meant that they had a number of them in World War I.
So typically they would have like a couple of them and sort
They
of
would have like 5 or 6.
Crossing fire.
Yes, I was told. We didn't have that many machine guns because we had set up machine gun posts right at the edge of the water. Mm-hmm. The reason was that somebody in Houston headquarters had decided that since a Japanese submarine out on the West Coast had shelled something or other, we were going to be next on the East Coast, either an attack like Pearl Harbor, or I don't know, because there were a lot of oil tanks in Texas City where they were storing oil to go into the tankers that were going over to England. We also had the only tin smelter in the United States.
Well, let's show these pictures.
Yeah, this is one of the Bolivian ships. Bolivia at that time was neutral. They used to bring in the tin ore. Now at that time we needed the tin to line the inside of sea ration cans. We were supposed to protect it from some kind of a Japanese or German attack because we needed the ore. The problem was we were never attacked.
But yet this one was. Show the picture of what happened to that ship.
The Nazi submarines, however, were active in the Gulf of Mexico, and they had torpedoes. They were sinking the tankers as fast as they were coming out of the Houston Ship Canal.
That trail of smoke in that picture is basically what happened to that ship, right? In the other picture?
Yeah. However, either the Nazi subs ran out of torpedoes, or there was we had more oil tankers than they had submarines and torpedoes. We had nothing to fight them with, because Eglin Airfield was further down the Texas coast. That 14 miles of beach was very soggy in places. So, and we didn't have jeeps yet.
So you had to patrol this all on foot?
Yes, we patrolled sections of it. And we had pickup trucks, which we'd patrol a section, and we'd have a staff sergeant or an officer with us, and he would say, all right, let's get back to the trucks. And we drive down, 6 or 8 miles, and then carry the machine gun down to the beach again. All I can tell you is it was hot. We did a lot of sweating. We were very glad that we get assigned to a stationary post.
This is you on one of those posts, right?
Oh, yes. These were the posts we set up.
You're sporting a pair of Ray-Bans in that.
Because there was a PX in Fort Sam Houston, I was able to get a pair of these Air Corps type glasses, which made it easier for me to see. And we set up aircraft identification school. These were the aircraft that I was supposed to teach the men to recognize. They couldn't even recognize our own. I had difficulty sometimes. Trouble was, from my point of view, that the people I had to work with didn't know one plane from another. So they decided not to waste time, and they took me off to school.
Now, before you got the Jeeps, there was a funny story.
Oh, yeah. One of the things that happened was that we had a bunch of farm boys that were in the 166th, and we used to drive past a dog food factory, which used to buy horses from the farmers and the ranchers in the area, and they decided that why don't we buy some of these horses? So we chipped in $18 a piece, and we bought some of these horses, and obviously the farm boys knew how, who was a good horse and who wasn't. And we went into Galveston, and they had a livery stable where all of us who really couldn't ride horses were taught how to sit on a horse. And this was the livery stable, and these are all city boys. We really couldn't ride a horse. But with proper instructions, we looked professional.
And that's you in the center there, I think. And what year is this?
This is 42. Now, nobody really cared much about us.
Here's another shot of one of the guys.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the farm boys. He knew horses.
And is that actually one of the dog food horses?
Yes, that's one of the horses. You'll notice the horse had trouble standing. Look the way he puts his feet.
Yeah, they're spread out.
Luckily, our cooks were learning how to bake bread. So we got a lot of half-baked and over-baked loaves of bread, which the horses ate. They ate leftover pancakes, fish, anything that was left over. I guess, Texas horses are not so discriminating, especially if they were going to be dog food.
Here's one more I want to show. This is you on one of the dog food horses with the Thompson.
Then what happened was they needed backup. So somebody had to carry a Thompson. Since I'd qualified, I had to carry a Thompson and ride a horse at the same time. And you'll notice there's no sling on this damn thing. We didn't have a Thompson sling. we got these saddles from Fort Sam. Now, these were McClellan's saddles. They had been used by General Pershing when he went down to chase Pancho Villa. And they were in pretty good shape, and we were taught how to saddle soap them and oil them, you know, and take care of them. But the horse used to amble along. I don't think I could have stayed on the horse if it would have galloped, you know. But holding on to the Thompson.
Would you have been able to hit anything, do you think?
I think I'd have scared the shit out of the horse,
yeah, right?
You know. But somebody had to cover that section of beach, and we were picked. What happened was we eventually got Jeeps. Jeep with a four-wheel drive could go down into the soggy part of the beach, and you could really see out when, you know, when it wasn't foggy. The interesting thing that happened, that I recall, was I was in the Jeep, and there was an officer, I think it was a captain or a lieutenant, who stopped the Jeep and said, "There's been a landing down on the beach, and you'll have to take this Jeep and get it off the road and go down there, because we had a water-cooled machine gun mounted on it." And he said, you guy with the Thompson, we're going to drop you off. In case anybody gets past us, you're going to back us up, you know.
By yourself?
By myself. I was the only Thompson in the whole goddamn company. So they sat me down, and I was looking for a place to hide behind, because it was a mile and a half or two of open beach. And there's no place to hide. I didn't have a shovel, so I couldn't dig a foxhole. Even if I could, I would have been knee-deep in water. So there I was, lying down, kneeling, standing up so I could see. And after a few hours, it got daylight. And I'm looking, and there's no patrol, there's nobody. So I went back to the road, and there was they used to call them juke joints. And they had a telephone, and for a nickel I called company headquarters, and nobody knew about me. But they said that the next pickup truck that went by would stop at the juke joint and picks me up. So the owner was sympathetic, and he made me a cup of coffee. And meanwhile, I was getting hungry, but I didn't have any money. Eventually, they picked me up and drove me back. And nobody got excited. You know, oh yeah, you know, you're due to go on WWIIS tonight. WWIIS was Army Anti-Aircraft Intelligence Service. They gave everything a name. And because I had been teaching aircraft recognition, they put me on at night where I couldn't see anything, you know. But by that time, I'd been in the Army, you know, over a year, and I'd learned that whatever the Army wanted to do, I'd say yes, sir, and I'd do it. Because I knew sooner or later we'd have to fight the Germans or the Japs.